get started with the reflection?
Sure.
Okay. And we'll greet people as they come in. So if you don't know already, you're attending a meeting of the North Orange County Senior Collaborative. And I think most of us know each other, but we are a service organization mostly focused on North County with the intention of identifying and meeting the unmet needs of seniors and their support systems in our community. We've been doing this for a little over 10 years. And we like to get started each meeting with a little quiet time and get focused through reflections. And Carol will be giving us a reflection now.
So good morning, everyone, and welcome to the NOCSC show. As Don was saying, we are talking today about loneliness and loneliness reduction. And Mark will be, and Lauren will be giving us some ideas and some suggestions. But not only that, we're mostly wanting to hear from you all. So we'll leave that to Mark and Lauren, but just be thinking about ideas for loneliness reduction as we go on, because we want to hear your thoughts. Today, the reflection is one that you may be familiar with. This is these are the lyrics from one of the Beatles songs, Eleanor Rigby. Look at all the lonely people. Look at all the lonely people. Eleanor Rigby picks up the rice in the church where a wedding has been, lives in a dream, waits at the window, wearing the face that she keeps in a jar by the door. Who is it for? All the lonely people. Where do they all come from? All the lonely people. Where do they all belong? Father Mackenzie, writing the words of a sermon that no one will hear. No one comes near. Look at him working, darning his socks in the night when there's nobody there. What does he care? All the lonely people. Where do they all come from? All the lonely people. Where do they all belong? Look at all the lonely people. Look at all the lonely people. Eleanor Rigby died in the church and was buried along with her name. Nobody came. Father Mackenzie, wiping the dirt from his hands as he walked from the grave. No one was saved. Wiping the dirt from his hands as he walked from the grave. No one was saved. All the lonely people. Look at all the lonely people. Where do they all come from? All the lonely people. Look at all the lonely people. Where do they all belong?
Where did they all come from?
Yeah, it is a sad song, very poignant, and that's kind of what we want to talk about today. The loneliness that so many of our older adults experience and the impact that it has on their lives, and not in a positive way. And we want to explore some ways that we can work and that we can help to reduce some of that loneliness. So our vice chair, Mark McKibben, is going to talk a little bit about that. Mark, I'm going to check on Lauren and make sure that she's all set up here too, okay?
Yep, super. Okay. So I think most of you know that we have working groups within NOCSC, and every other year we take on a specific project directed at meeting unmet needs, trying to meet an unmet need of seniors in our community. And so the project that is now closing out its second year has to do with loneliness. And how we got started with this was we conducted a survey many of you helped us to distribute those surveys. The survey that we created was derived or perhaps plagiarized from a short survey that ARP had put together a few years back, which was actually a derivative from a larger survey that UCLA had conducted. And we gathered the data. We had an excellent statistician go through the data. We reviewed it, and a couple of interesting things came out of it. One, there seemed to be a direct correlation between your financial comfort and your level of loneliness. And that probably is no surprise. The less money you have, it seemed the more, or the less comfortable you were financially, the more lonely your potential for loneliness seemed to be. And then the other thing that surprised me, having worked at a senior living community for a while, was that there really didn't seem to be that much of a difference in terms of the way people reported loneliness, regardless of what their living environment was. Whether they lived in a senior living community or lived by themselves, it was kind of flat. And that was actually, that surprised me, because of course one of the things that all senior living communities talk about is a sense of community. Taking the information our team gathered and has worked to take that information on to the next level for us as an organization, and that's to try to come up with and develop ideas that NOCSC can act upon. And of course, virtually all of us at NOCSC have day jobs, so it isn't like we can devote a tremendous amount of time to it, and we all have limited resources to put through. So it's a little bit of a challenge to find what some of those things can be. And we've got some good baseline ideas, and we've got some good program ideas, but our intention today is to share some of what we've got, but really to stimulate discussion and questions, and to see what we can do to expand upon the list, because I mean, let's face it, it's gigantic as an issue, and maybe we can have this much impact, or maybe we can have this much impact, who knows, but we're going to try. So one of the things that, is Lauren with us, Carol?
She is with us.
Okay, very good. I'll get there in a second. So one of the things that I think all of us probably use or talk to when we are faced with when we have a loved one that a senior, or maybe it's a client, etc. You'll hear people say, well, hey, do you go to the senior center, or how about church, or looking for places where there's some sort of sense of community. But then the list gets kind of short after that. And a few years back, I believe it was in the Bay Area, a program was created that was, in essence, a senior center, a virtual senior center. And that's evolved into a program now called Well Connected. And we just happen to have someone who's really expert on Well Connected, and that's Lauren Valentine. And so she's going to speak a little bit about that particular program. And then we'll talk about what we can do as NOCSC, and then other sorts of things that go along with it. So let me pass it to Lauren, and then we'll let it roll from there.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Mark, for that introduction. Hi, everyone. My name is Lauren Valentine. Unfortunately, I do not have a camera on my computer. Kyle, if you can make me co-host, that would be great.
Sure thing. One moment here.
Lauren, do you want to use the laptop?
It's okay. I already have everything set up here.
Okay.
Yeah, you should be live.
Perfect. Okay. Can everyone see my screen? Oh, we're going to switch that. Perfect. Okay, so we'll be talking about Well Connected, and St. Jude Medical Center has partnered with Well Connected recently, and what we've done is we've introduced Well Connected to our Caring Neighbors program, to our Friendly Visitors program. And with everything going on with COVID-19, our program has expanded drastically, probably from about 90 seniors to over 400 seniors that now we're calling over the phone and checking in with weekly. So another way that we can provide that senior with connection instead of just relying on that one phone call from their volunteer is Well Connected. So I'm just going to walk you through what Well Connected is, when it started, what their mission statement is, and then how you can introduce it to your clients, how you can bring it up, and how to follow up with them to make sure that they are using it and what barriers they may run into. So why talk about loneliness and social isolation? Loneliness has been seen to be as equivalent to 15 cigarettes a day. It has been increasing the risk of elder abuse. It reduces physical activity. It accelerates chronic illness. There has been, hypertension, poor diet. There's a lot of cons to social isolation, and it's something that our seniors experience. So it's something that we need to address with different kinds of resources. And Well Connected is just one resource. And then at the end, we'll open it up to see what other resources you have in mind. So shifting the medical model, we talk about loneliness, but why don't we talk about how we can prevent loneliness or the impact of volunteering instead? So instead of loneliness, why don't we encourage seniors to volunteer 2 hours a week? That could be at church, that could be through Well Connected, that could be calling a friend. It's just to make sure their social network that they have enough people to connect with. So social connection has been seen to increase health. There's also a lot of creative aging programs that increase to healthier lives, Well Connected being one of them, and their quality and type of connection matter, meaning Well Connected is over the phone and online, as you'll see later on, but maybe for your senior, that's not what they look for. That's not the type of connection that matters to them. Maybe to them it's in person. But of course, with everything going on with COVID, this is a great resource only because our in-person contact is very limited. So what does it look like? This is Well Connected, and they have an English catalog and a Spanish catalog, and they offer virtual conversations, lifelong learning opportunities, different support groups, and lectures. And it's actually all across the country, meaning that anybody, whether they're in California or in Texas or in Florida, can participate in Well Connected for free. So this is what the inside of their catalog looks like. And as you can see, there's a fun and game section. For example, bingo, there's health and wellness, and it talks, for example, about the mind diet to prevent Alzheimer's. And then there's support groups, for example, living with chronic pain. So as you can see, all of these classes, there's a good variety of them, and most of them are created by seniors and for seniors as well. So it's a virtual creative engagement opportunity available for older adults. It's accessible by phone, and it's free of charge, as I mentioned. And for example, this is what a weekly schedule would look like for Well Connected. So you have gratitude every single morning. On Mondays, you have Veterans Day. Tuesday, you have meditation. Wednesday, there's a bilingual chat. Thursday, there's personal storytelling. So they do their best to really mix up the kind of variety of things that they offer to seniors, and working closely with Well Connected, I can definitely say that's something that they strive for. I work with Annette Balter, which is their program coordinator, and every single quarter she's doing different things. She's reaching out to different people to make sure that the same content isn't offered every quarter. So what are the benefits of being Well Connected? Like Mark mentioned, this is from the Bay Area, and they partnered with the University of San Francisco and did some studies. And there was an 83% raise of intellectual stimulation. There was a 76% of social connection. 63% said it improved their mental health, and 35% said it improved their physical health. So how can you get your senior to participate? They can, for one call, they can call these numbers on the screen, and we'd be happy to share this PowerPoint with you as well, so you can have this information for yourself. And when they call, they'll just walk them through the registration form. Or you can email this registration form to Well Connected, and it's available on their website, or you can also mail it to them. Of course, calling or emailing would be a lot quicker than mailing, but it's whatever you prefer, whatever your senior prefers. If I were you, I would try to fill it out with them. So that's what our volunteers have been doing when they call our seniors through the Friendly Visitor Program. They tell them about Well Connected, and if they're interested, we help them fill out the registration form. So the volunteer will fill it out for them, and they will email it to Well Connected, and then that senior will receive a catalog in the mail quarterly. They only have to register once, and then every quarter they get a new catalog. And so once they're registered, what's included? They get a current catalog, and they get a participant calendar, which includes updated dates, times, phone numbers, and codes. The codes are the Zoom codes and instructions to access all activities. And they also have an activity checklist, meaning they can return that to Well Connected to let them know which groups they would like to receive email invites to or receive handouts for. So for instance, if your senior does not have access to a computer, but they want to join a healthy living with chronic conditions class, and there's a PowerPoint attached to it or a presentation, Well Connected will mail the participant the PowerPoint 2 weeks ahead. So as your senior is on the phone with them, they can follow along page by page, even if they don't have access to a computer. They can listen in over the phone and follow along. Another thing that I really like about Well Connected is that sometimes if we don't get a reminder, we all forget about a class or an appointment, and Well Connected offers to call in the senior to remind them of that class. So for instance, let's say we had a class at 9 a.m. You would be getting a call from Well Connected now saying, hey Mark, our class on healthy living is starting in about 10 minutes. Would you like to join? Do you have time? And then he said no. So we would hang up and tell him about our next class. But it's just really nice, I think, because I think sometimes we forget about our appointments or the classes we sign up for. So or sometimes the barrier may be that your senior doesn't know how to log on to Zoom, or they're having trouble calling in the phone number and then dialing a code. So I love that they call them. And there's also a chance to volunteer. So you can facilitate a group or present a topic or just be a friendly visitor with Well Connected. And again, you can email me or you can email Well Connected, and I can help you get connected with them as far as participating. So how would you present this to your senior? You can let them know that Well Connected is a Covia Community Services Program. It's funded through the Covia Foundation, MetaFund, and the City of Beverly Hills. And their mission statement is Covia promotes positive aging by cultivating healthy and engaged communities with a continuum of innovative services that actively support intellectual, physical, emotional, spiritual, and social well-being. And their vision is to be widely known as a trusted resource for aging well. So again, we had talked about some of the engagement, some of the benefits of social engagement, intellectual stimulation, social connection, improved mental health, and improved physical health. So the description of the catalog, I had shown you some pictures, but let's say you're talking on the phone with your senior and you can't physically show them the catalog yet. You would say, Well Connected is a phone and online program. It offers activities, education, friendly conversations, and an assortment of classes and support groups for older adults accessible from the comfort of their home. The community consists of participants, staff, facilitators, presenters, and other volunteers who care about each other and who value being connected to engaging content and to each other. They can play a game, they can learn a new language, they can write a poem, they can go on a virtual tour, meditate, share gratitude, or get support. And most importantly, they can connect and engage with others every day across the country. And again, let them know that Covia is free of charge for any participant that's over the age of 80. So step 4, how to assist the older adult to review the catalog and decide on which classes to check out.
Lauren,
Go
excuse
ahead.
me, you said 80, your slide said 60.
Oh, I'm sorry, 60, not
Thank
80. Sorry about that. So this PowerPoint was created pre-COVID times, but let's say you were meeting with your senior You would schedule a time in your visit, about 30 minutes, just to talk about their interests. That way you know, based on the catalog, what section they may be interested in. So you can look through the different sections with them and see what they like. For instance, there's armchair travel, there's arts, there's just friendly conversations, games, reading, health and wellness, learning different languages, and support groups. So based on that conversation and their interest, you can plug them in into one of these categories just for them to try one of the classes and see what they think. So you can also write down their interests so you have an idea of what to suggest next time for the following class. And I would just encourage you to be enthusiastic, encouraging, and confident, but never pushy. And if possible, I would join in with them the first few times just so they feel that sense of familiarity, that they have someone there that they know. So before this meant, you know, going to their home, sitting down with them, and maybe helping them join the class so they're there with you. Or this can mean you can call them and say, hey, I'm going to be on the class. Did you want to join as well? I'll be sure to engage with you. So that's something you can do as well. And then this is just some actual language that you can suggest section by section. So there's a newcomer's welcome section, which is a good start to just help you learn how to navigate the catalog. So if someone is feeling overwhelmed because the catalog is about 40 pages and there's a lot of content in there, you can suggest, well, how about we just start with the newcomer's welcome? So you understand a little bit more about Well Connected and what they have to offer and how it works. Or another one can be, Joni, you love your dog Riley. What if we join Pet Tales and share with others how much you enjoy spending time with her? Bob, you love watching baseball and know so many statistics about your team. How would you feel if we joined Sports Talk to talk about a few of your favorite athletes? So something along those lines. It just depends whatever they're interested in. Like I said, Well Connected has a lot of variety. And then how to assist them to register. So you can either take the registration form with you, fill it out together, or fill it out by phone, which is what we have been doing now. And then you can email it to Well Connected, which is coviaconnections@covia.org, or you can call with them or just simply give them the number to register for the class or the support group. And I would write the class and date down on their calendar or in their date book, just so they're aware of what they scheduled. And again, if you feel like your senior won't join the class or they won't remember, you can ask Well Connected to call them into the class. And I would also just do one class at a time. Like I said, the catalog is very big, so I wouldn't want to overwhelm your senior. So I would register for 1 or 2 classes at a time. If they're interested in more than one class or support group, just make a note of it to suggest it for next time, and focus on one class and pick a day that you'll be able to attend with them. And you can also encourage the volunteer to attend the class with the older adult. So the volunteer will be able to assist and demonstrate how easy it is to be a part of the class. The volunteer can be interactive and show the older adult how enjoyable it is to participate. And having a familiar person to do it with the client will help eliminate fear and build a stronger relationship and connection between the two of them. Again, this was pre-COVID, but it doesn't mean that you can't call your senior and let them know, hey, I'll be on the Well Connected class with you. I would love for you to join in with me. And again, I would just make sure that you tell your volunteer, whether that's yourself or someone in your organization, to attend the class with the older adult multiple times. They may still have a few questions the first or second time, and the more that you help them and the more that they regularly participate, log on to Zoom or call in, they'll get familiar with it and they'll feel comfortable attending different classes on their own. So just some engagement questions that you can do afterwards. I would suggest you discuss the class with them. So talk about how easy it was to be a part of the class. You can also talk about what barriers they had. Maybe they couldn't hear very well, or if your client can't see, they do offer some different options through Braille, right, Carol?
Yes, yes. Mhm.
Yes, okay. And you can ask them what they enjoyed about the class, if they feel comfortable sharing. remark on comments that other people made during the class and just talk about what they'll do differently or again at the next class. So maybe your senior didn't really want to participate the first time, but they enjoyed listening into others. You can ask them what they'll do next time, if they'll participate next time. What did they feel comfortable with? Maybe they didn't feel comfortable sharing just quite yet, and that's why we recommend that they join more than one class. And then step 11 would just be remind the older adult about the class. And again, if you feel like you don't have time to do this, Well Connected will do it for you. So it's just a reminder call before your visit. You can mention the Well Connected class. You can talk about it in advance and share your excitement about joining the class and remind them of something they want to do or say during the class. If you want to make sure that they're engaging, that would be a great idea. So what do you want to say during this class? What do you plan on sharing? And then, like I said, number 4 is trying the dial in option. So if you feel the older adult may not remember to join the class on time, there is an option for Well Connected to call them when the class is going to start. And encourage the volunteer to periodically check back with the older adult to see how they're enjoying the class or support group. So this is something that our group is doing right now, only because they're calling them every week to check up on them with COVID, but they're also asking them, hey, have you joined any Well Connected classes this week? You know, which one did you join? What did you like about it? Did you run into any barriers? So then that way we're familiar with what they're running into. So again, some other questions may be, what have you learned? Which one is your favorite so far? What class are you thinking about joining for next time? Just to make sure that they're staying engaged and they're staying plugged in to Well Connected. And you can also demonstrate how the volunteer, based on their knowledge and relationship with the older adult, can suggest other classes or support groups that the adult may find interesting, fun, or useful. So like we said, if you're talking to your senior, and this is something that our volunteers are doing, and asking what their interests are, you can write them down and make notes of them. So if your senior next time is saying, well, I don't know what class I want to join, then you have a suggestion for them because you really listened to that first time and you know what their interests are. So you can always refer back to that list and suggest one of the classes that best fits their interests. And you can ask if they've told anyone else about this telephone or computer class opportunity. I know, for example, one of our volunteers before COVID, one of our clients had invited her friend over so she could listen in on the Well Connected class as well. So sometimes if they really enjoy it, they'll share with their friends, and then their friends can, you know, get registered and also receive the catalog and join in whenever they'd like. So that's it on Well Connected for today. Again, their telephone number is 877-797-7299, or you can also email me directly, and my phone number is on there as well. If you have any questions or if you'd like to participate on Well Connected, if you'd like me to share their most recent catalog, I'd be happy to do that for you. Mark, I'll hand it back over to you.
Thank you, Lauren. Appreciate that. You answered some of the questions that I had, but does anybody in the group have a question for Lauren?
Yeah, so Lauren, would you
Yeah.
also talking a little bit about some of the problems or some of the barriers that you have noticed or that you've run into or heard about, and maybe also how some of those were resolved? And then I don't know if anybody is interested in, I think you had a page there, maybe I missed it, on some of the catalog items.
Yes, so I'll go back to the catalog items. One of the things was for one of our clients that is blind. He did not like the Braille option. I know they have a CD that he can listen in to the entire catalog, but again, considering it's 40 pages long, he just said it was too long, so he didn't like that. So maybe for our blind clients, what they have right now isn't efficient as far as time or listening in for a whole catalog. He said he didn't like that. Another thing I would say is, as you can see, this is one of their last catalogs, and the times aren't on here. So before, the times used to be on the catalog. So now it's on a separate page. And I just think it makes it a little more confusing. It's an extra thing that you have to have, another sheet of paper with all the times. But the times used to be right next to the titles. And I think that was easier than having another sheet of paper with all the times on it. That's something else that I've noticed. It just creates a little bit more of confusion.
Yeah.
And another thing would just be not not remembering to or having trouble logging onto Zoom if they don't have a computer or the phone. As we know, all the Zoom numbers are normally long with some long codes, so that can be confusing for them. But again, what I suggest and tell our volunteers to do is tell them about the dial-in option. Tell them about the dial-in option. That way they're called. And I know that, for instance, there was a Saturday where someone had asked for the dial-in option and they were not called. So that's something that I addressed with Well Connected, saying, hey, this client was asked to put on the dial-in call because she knew she would not be able to do it herself, but she never received her call. So she did remember, she was excited, but unfortunately, she was having trouble logging on and they did not call her. But that was just, a one-time thing. I don't think it's normal for them to do that because, for example, when I do classes for them, they spend about 5 minutes calling in participants into the line. So I do see them dial in and call their participants and ask them if they want to join. So those are a few things.
Lauren, I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
How long has St. Jude been partnered in this project?
About a year.
Great. Okay. So you have a pretty good sense of how well things run and all. One of the things that I'm finding with my clients in assisted living is they feel that they're locked in, and I need to get more input from facilities. But one of the concerns that I have is that the stimulating activities that they once enjoyed don't seem to be as available as they once were. More separation between the residents, fewer field trips, probably none. Activities in a common room restricted. So they're really feeling locked in, and it's not really sitting well with a lot of them. And I'm wondering if there's been any kind of an outreach, or maybe I'm off the mark, I don't know, but I wonder if there's been any kind of an outreach to assisted living facilities, particularly for their more disabled residents. The people I'm talking about are folks that are so impaired that they can barely go to a doctor's appointment. So, people that are really limited in mobility.
That's a great point. And I know that I'm not sure how much Well Connected. I don't think we have reached out to assisted living facilities as much in regards to this program, but maybe that's a great point. Maybe we should. But I have noticed on the call, it is people that are homebound because they'll share that with me. They'll say, I'm bedridden. Well Connected is one of the few things that I have because I can't go out. So they do share those things with us. And that's when you can get a sense of the audience is they are people that are really home, just isolated. And, they either don't have transportation or they're bedridden, they're on a wheelchair, they live alone, they don't have family nearby. So it is some of those things that I hear. So maybe telling assisted living facilities about this would be a great idea.
So, Laura,
can I have just one follow-up real quick?
Yeah.
I know that Robert from California Phones is with us today. And one of the things that I find with my clients dealing with them on the phone is we have folks that have a lot of hearing loss and issues that way. And maybe you may do this already, I don't know, but you may want to point them towards California Phones, or at least just getting an appropriate phone with an amplifier, et cetera, that makes all this easier. That
would be a great idea.
Yeah, thank you, Daniel. Just to kind of give you a heads up, if the client does have a hearing difficulty, they have a smartphone. We also have amplifiers for the smartphone.
Oh, wow. Okay.
As far as also various landlines, and they're multiple difficulty based. So if they have like maybe low vision, our phones are have bigger buttons, but also have lighted notification and also amplified as well. So there's a whole lot of catalogs that we a lot of inventory that can suffice for different needs.
And Robert, just so everybody knows, probably most of you do know, California Phones is the state-sponsored paid program where people with impairments of various kinds can qualify for free phones with special adaptations, correct?
That is correct, as long as they have the requirements is that they have to live in California. They have to have a phone line, whether cell phone or landline, and just have a doctor sign off on the difficulty. And it can be temporary. It doesn't have to be permanent. So that's how a lot of people get confused, that they feel like they don't qualify. But it's, let's say that they had a surgery and they have a mobility issue, you know, we could assist them with that. So as long as a doctor signs it off, we will get them that device.
Okay.
I wonder if we could, as part of our actionable items, maybe start by targeting some senior living communities just to maybe first just expose well-connected to them, but then also see if we can perhaps take it to a different level. I don't know how accessible most of the communities I have clients in aren't particularly accessible to me, at least yet, but it would seem that it would be the type of client you were describing, Dan, would seem to be probably pretty well known in most communities, even by when you just walk in, if they were willing to share that information, and maybe in conjunction with the community, someone who was smart about the Well Connected program could go and help introduce them, or perhaps we as a group could create, not only reach out, but have training to be able to have designated person to go to, say, Brookdale or whatever, and ask who might be, who Brookdale might believe would be could be availed of the service, and then in conjunction with Brookdale wellness group or whatever, go in and meet with that person and try to get them to sign up.
So Mark, so Mark, I was actually going to, I know that we've got Teresa and Pauline and Linda on the phone here meeting with us today. And I'm curious, because that's kind of their area. I wonder what Teresa or Linda or Pauline, what you would think, how would assisted living communities, how would they feel about that?
Well, Carol, assisted livings do have their programs in place, whereas boarding cares do not. Big boarding cares to them. And since it's such a small environment, one of the caregivers or the owner could participate and call for them to get them signed up. And even maybe as a group, could be 2 or 3 of them that do want to do particular things on the calendar together, which, you know, of course, would foster some social interaction as well. Because when you're so low functioning, you already feel isolated, even though you're with people. As opposed to assisted living, you have much more higher functioning people that can participate. And I think targeting the lower functioning at boarding cares would be a great idea.
You think they'd go for it though? Would they go for it?
I think so.
It's a good idea, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think in talking with the owner, and because like I said, there could be 1 or 2 that would love to participate, because a lot of times there is nothing going on at a boarding care, and because they're so low functioning. But I mean, who's to say they don't want to? All of us would want to. Just because we can't do something doesn't mean we're not interested.
Right. Teresa or Linda, what do you think?
I agree with what Pauline said. The boarding cares, I think so many of them think watching TV is an activity, and that's about all they offer. Or they do try to offer activities, and the residents just aren't interested and don't participate. But this would really help them at least to offer or to have some other alternatives to offer the residents that may be interested. Even in the large assisted living places, I know they have their activity director, but right now with all the COVID restrictions, many of the residents are quarantined in their rooms, and it's driving some of them crazy, as well as the families. So this would be another alternative to offer some of those that are able to use their cell phones or their phones in order to connect and participate. I think it could offer a lot of benefits.
Yeah, I'd like to weigh in on it as well. I've seen different things at the assisted livings. Some of the assisted livings are more lenient in their ability to visit during COVID than others. Some are very strict, and the families have not seen their families in any way, shape, or form, whereas others are allowing a little more visitation. I've seen like where they'll allow one family member to come in. They have to go through all the stations of disinfecting, bring their own gloves and face mask. And I just was reading something yesterday. So they handle it different ways. In the ones where it's very, very strict, people are really struggling, even though the assisted livings are doing a good job in trying to do one-on-one visits with the staff and the person, and bringing in like craft kits and things. Still, the isolation at this 3-month mark is killing some of them. Or I don't mean killing, but it's really affecting some of them. And what I found is that the boarding cares are they're very careful, and you're only talking 6 people, not 100 people. They're extremely careful. Some of the caregivers have sheltered in and not even going home to their own families during COVID. They're being extremely careful. But there's more accessibility. What I found in boarding care is when, and a lot of rooms have accessibility from a room to the outside, and they're letting that family member come in, masked and gloved, through that personal entrance into that person's room. So there actually is, I'm finding, more flexibility and ability to visit in the care home situation. But as Linda was stating, sometimes you offer activities in the care home and people aren't interested because they have a higher acuity, especially cognitively, and overstimulation causes can contribute to sundowning and anxiety issues, just too much stimulation. However, people that are there at higher physical acuity and they don't have that mid-stage or advanced Alzheimer's or dementia, which is why they'd be in the home, those higher acuity people, they really need more. I think that this wellness thing not only could be so effective, I think every care home should certainly know about it, and every assisted living. I think that would just add to their already, very carefully planned out activity program. But every care home should certainly know that this is happening. I think that if every care home knew this is happening, and in Orange County we have, a good 900 care homes, I think they would all use it. I think the whole thing would probably blow up, and they need to add so much more. As I'm sitting here listening, my mother is in Nebraska, and she's pretty isolated there. There's family there, but they have very little. It's a very quiet little town. No good restaurants or anything like that. I mean, it's a very little town. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I can't wait to tell my mom about this. And will they allow someone, that far away to access it? I think this is brilliant. And it has a lot of, I think it'll have a lot of usefulness going forward, not even just in response to COVID, but just in response to isolation, especially our seniors who are in rural areas with far less infrastructure than anything we have here in Orange County. So I know that's all a big mouthful, but I think this is quite a fascinating offering, and I think it can be highly effective.
So, Teresa, as you're talking about your mom in Nebraska, I want to stick with that for just a second, if you don't mind. So this is one of the things I have, like you, I have been like head over heels in love with this concept for close to a dozen years, not kidding. But the problem that I have encountered, and I want to come right back to your mom in Nebraska. And Susanna, I know that you're on the line too, and I want to include you in this because you work with people who have dementia and Alzheimer's and cognitive issues. So one of the problems that I have encountered, and I know Lauren has as well, is resistance on the part of older adults. They are they're leery. It seems like they're frequently difficult to engage or to motivate or to make something like this a constant. It takes some significant effort on the part of the volunteer or the individual who's working with the older adult to get this to actually happen. So I'm thinking about your mom, Teresa.
Mm-hmm.
And Xana, I want to encourage you to chime in here too with thinking about older adults who have any kind of, whether it's MCI or any other kind of cognitive decline condition. How do we work with these individuals, not just with well-connected, but part of the purpose of today's meeting is to talk about ways that we can help to reduce loneliness, not just with well-connected. Absolutely, we want to promote this program, but there are other ideas out there too. How do we go about engaging and motivating, incentivizing older adults to participate? Because I think that's a problem. And maybe I'm off the mark with that.
I have a response to that. It's just an idea. But I think that a great channel, especially that I use in my businesses, I always ask when I get a call from a senior, I know that the impetus to make a move happen and get the care that they need is going to be there, and there are a lot of barriers. And so one of the things I'll ask for is there an adult, one of your adult children or your adult children who could advocate with you in the process that we could bring in together and work together? And that's always a covering and a motivator and a clarifier for that senior to take action. And so I think appealing to adult children would be a great avenue to help support these seniors in taking action and engaging in this type of activity.
Can I just jump in and say that I think that you hit right on a very important point, I think, for all of us, that's safety. And I think if it's introduced properly to a family or to other trusted people, the fact that it's got the association with St. Jude, all of that helps a senior to relax a little bit and say, okay, this is an okay thing.
I'll jump in here too. One of the challenges that we find is the whole telephone or computer. A lot of the seniors are like, no, I want to go back in person. And so there's still, even a couple of months into this, the resistance of trying technology, even phone. It's not the same. It doesn't feel the same. And so we found, number one, it is that someone else connecting them, whether it be a family member. Like for our support groups, we have the facilitators that they know reach out to them to encourage them to try on the phone, even though it's not the same, or try by computer, even though it's not the same, because then there's that personal connection. We've also had where if family members have gotten involved, not that the senior needs it, right? You don't need it, but I found this neat thing I want to try, but not by myself. Will you join me? So that it's not all about them needing something, but then they get to experience it without pressure being on them or being about them. For folks with dementia, it is a real challenge, and really probably early stage is all this may fit for, but remembering about it. And I love the fact that Well Connected will call people, right? Because the remembering to call in and then handling that can be very difficult. The challenge then again can be, though, is if someone's forgotten about it, it's now a surprise. And when it's a surprise, the first answer we get is no. So it'd be figuring out how to overcome that barrier. Maybe it is calling an hour before. We have a class starting in an hour. I'm going to call you 10 minutes before, right? So you give them time to process it and be prepared for it as one you can try to challenge it. But it is this new virtual world and not meeting in person, we're noticing is a challenge for a lot of people. They don't want it, so they're very resistant. I'll wait till it's in person again. So that's a barrier we need to continue working on overcoming. But I definitely believe family, friends, those are real key in helping someone get comfortable over this hurdle.
I have a couple questions. First, how is Covia funded? And is there a limit to how many people they can accommodate in the classes or activities?
That's a great question. I think, so they're funded by the Covia Foundation, MetaFund, and the City of Beverly Hills. They currently serve about 1,200 seniors in the entire United States. So if you think about it, it's really still pretty small. So with most of them being in California, and I think the class that was the most popular was the gratitude class. So I believe they had maybe 20 participants max, or 25. And because that class was so popular, then what they did is they provided it every single day. So I believe it's around 25 max, and there's always the person that's presenting, and someone from Well Connected is also there doing like the back end work, right? Muting people, unmuting, you know, telling them, okay, now you can talk, now it's your time, you know, to participate, things of that sort. So the facilitator isn't doing everything, you know, presenting and unmuting and muting and doing all of that.
And is Well Connected mainly for patients in the St. Jude's system?
No,
Or it's
no,
open?
yeah, it's open to anybody in the entire country, any senior over 60. Like Carol said, we just love it. So we decided to partner with them and said, hey, we would love to use this. How can we help you? So that's why we're promoting it, and we're telling others about it as well.
Right. So St. Jude is a Catholic organization, and Well Connected is actually through, is it Episcopalian Church or Presbyterian Church? I always get it confused.
I think Presbyterian.
Yeah. So, I mean, it turns out that it is actually through a denomination, but it's not even Catholic. So, and there's nothing religious about Well Connected either. It's a social platform.
So, Lauren,
Yes.
I just want to clarify. You're saying that the participant needs a something from the physician stating that they're hearing impaired. Is that correct?
No, that was for California phones.
Oh, California phones. Okay.
Yes.
So I got notes all over the place. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we're happy to do a plug. Go, Linda.
And do you all have a one sheet on it or something like that where it can be shared easily, like in our support groups when we do education classes? Also, if people are going out to the assisted livings, things along those lines where it can be easily explained where people can get involved?
I do. And I can also email you their catalog. I mean, that's a lot bigger, but if you're emailing it, that's something that you can do as well. But yes, I do have a one-page flyer.
Okay.
Is there
Lauren,
something?
Oh, I'm
Excuse
sorry,
me.
Mark. Lauren,
No, you
just,
go ahead, Dan. Go ahead, Dan.
I was hoping that you could email that out to everybody, because just while you're doing your presentation, I mean, I do reverse mortgages. So a lot of times I deal with people that are their spouse has passed away, and so they're very isolated by themselves in this thing. So a one-page flyer that I could bring along and have with me at all time, I've got immediately many clients, past clients I'm thinking of, this would be perfect for already. And it's good for me to connect with them, just to be able to send, say, hey, here's something I found that's fantastic. So if you could send that out, that'd be great.
Absolutely.
And you're gonna, Dan, you'll get them everybody's email address, I guess, Mr. York?
Lauren, is it possible, can you put up on the screen the flyer that you have?
Yes.
And then we can absolutely send this out to everyone. And happy to do it, because we want to promote this. This is not anything to do with St. Jude, except that we absolutely endorse it and use it. And it's tough. I don't want you to think that we are having amazing, incredible success with this, because we're not. It's something that we have to keep working at, and you should know that as well. When you are talking with any of your patients, any of your clients, it's something that you're going to have to keep coming back to. I think, Lauren, that that's one of the things that we have certainly discovered.
Yes.
Is there train the trainer? Is there something like that that could help. I mean, obviously we can share, each of us can share information point and say, hey, this is something that's great, but without bombarding Lauren or without bombarding you, Carol, to get more expertise to keep the discussion going with who we've exposed it to. Is there something in works now to help expand the people that have expertise?
Yes,
that we could also
have,
promote?
Yes, and Lauren kind of went over a little bit of the training the trainer.
Yeah, that's what it looked like.
Training the trainer PowerPoints as well. I know that Mark Sauceda is on the phone, or at least he was on the phone. Mark is the director of the Senior Center in Grant. Mark, if you're on the phone, can we unmute Mark? And I'm curious if this is something that senior centers would be interested in promoting or using, particularly now during COVID. I don't know what you would think about that, Mark. So Mark may not be.
Mark has left the building.
Okay, he's left the screen.
He'll come back. We'll find him when he comes back. Well, maybe we could talk about this.
Well, Carol is speaking really quickly. We are going to do Senior Care 101 through Covia in the fall. So I don't know if I bit off more than I can chew, but in an effort to improve Senior Care 101, we're going to break it into financial, legal, and care issues and support Covia twice. We're going to do that sort of 2 times in 2 3-week increments. So we'll get a couple of presenters who can remain the subject matter expert on those topics and then sort of set it up for the fall. So in part, we have the content. It's not appropriate yet for online distribution through PowerPoint, but the content's already written. So just changing that up and then presenting it to their crowd. And then hopefully that brings them more exposure, because there are probably a handful of 60-some-odd-year-olds who are using it for the bird watching, who haven't yet sort of thought about these issues, or adult children who have 85-year-old, 95-year-old parents who have not thought at all about it. Hopefully we can support it that way. So we're going to produce some content, and we're going to be presenters for Senior Care 101 in a virtual format come the fall. So we haven't nailed down the exact time of the day we're going to do it, but they've given us a couple options. So look for that as a group. I'll probably need some help doing the decks, and then we'll probably have to figure out who's going to be presenting some of the different subjects. But I'm not doing legal, I can guarantee you that.
So Stephen, you're bringing up a couple of things that I also want to highlight. First of all, Well Connected is open to having other presenters. So any of you may have topics that they might be interested in putting into their catalog. So there's the possibility that you could be a presenter as well. Lauren does several classes, but they're open and willing to, they would appreciate having other presenters. So that's something for any of you to consider as well. The other thing that I wanted to put out there has just evaporated out of my head, but it's something that, I know, caregivers. That's another population that we need to be thinking about. It's not just older adults who are isolated. Many caregivers are also isolated and would appreciate having some opportunity for engagement themselves. Sorry, Dan, I think you were going to say something.
No, one thing I don't want to forget about is volunteers. And I think summer would be a terrific time to engage maybe some younger people that can be facilitators, with their ability, their familiarity with Zoom and the technical side of things. I know a lot of folks are having to change their plans for school come the autumn. So this might be a good time to engage some volunteer help that way, and really make a connection to the senior community.
I have a question about Senior Care 101 probably for Stephen. Is it possible when the presentations are given, if it can be recorded and replayed for future, to make available for future times, or does it have to be done in person each time?
Can I jump in there, Stephen? Because Stephen and I have been communicating on this. I owe him an email right now, but we do need to do some restructuring. I think we could record it. And I think we'd have to figure out where and when and how that gets used. One of the things that, I don't know about you guys, when you do a presentation, Linda, but so many times it turns into a personal counseling session, or one in which, they really need specific guidance. But yeah, I think, I don't know why we couldn't do it. What do you think, Stephen?
So I think, yeah, so there's a couple of thoughts. One, recording a Senior Care 101 class probably doesn't make a ton of sense, because they do end up being sort of individual counseling sessions for the attendees. And usually we're navigating and providing extraordinary guidance on a very specific set of issues that don't translate very well. That said, we could probably figure out a way to take placement or home care or basic legal issues or some basic fiduciary financial planning concerns, craft some very basic kind of couple-minute videos on those topics that we could post on the website or on Facebook that would become content people could reference. That, I think, would be easily doable. And then I think as far as recording I don't know if Covia records their sessions and makes them available, where potentially that could be something we could have. But that's a technical issue with them more than it is with us. But I think the ability to record is something we could absolutely do. Part of the logic of improving or volunteering to do the Covia class was an effort to sort of drive a little bit of action into improving the quality of Senior Care 101 and making sure the content that we all think should be in there is actually in there, and then putting it in a sort of an hour or 3-hour format. So we'd have sort of 45 minutes of content on each subject, really. And then from there, we can sort of improve the quality of Senior Care 101.
So Stephen, just to answer your question, they do record it. They do record their presentations. Now, if they make them available, I'm not entirely sure. I'm not sure if it's just for quality control per se that they record it, but I know that on our end, on Zoom, I'm sure we can record it as well if you need that.
Yeah, I'm sure we could. So does that help, Linda? Does that answer your question?
Right. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't thinking so much as the typical Senior Care 101 class where it's a small group and we mostly address questions, but there's really good, important content in the program. And if it's something that people could access from their homes or not have to come to a class, or if they're not available for a Zoom class, at least they could get the information.
Yeah, I think there's value to producing some decent YouTube videos and kind of linking that up on the site and just sort of putting it out there. Like, what does a fiduciary do? What does a placement specialist? What is home care versus a registry? How does sort of basic estate planning work? Why is it important? I mean, if you just answer some of these basic questions in 2 or 3 minute clips, people would potentially find that immensely valuable.
I would agree. But that's a board meeting topic. Get back to loneliness. What do you say? So Carol, would you like to speak about, did everyone open a copy or receive a copy of the our
I think Kyle has that. He can, if
straw man menu.
If Kyle can put that up. But I actually don't want to focus too much on that. on the menu that we've discovered or that we've kind of put together. I can talk a little bit about it, but mostly I want to hear from you all. So, Mark, I'll leave that.
Yes, and that's exactly what I was leading to, Carol, that what we did was one of the target items on the menu was well connected. So we've given you all an example of something that's tangible that we can do something with. What else? What are other things that maybe you are aware of that you can share, or maybe just in part of this discussion has come to light that we can throw into our cauldron of ideas?
Don't all speak at once.
Yeah, so I'm gonna kind of like just leave it open, because what I think is that we all have ideas, and maybe we're not promoting the ideas, and they can be little things. So the menu that we've come up with, the reason that we had a menu is because on a typical menu, if you go to Denny's, if you go to a steakhouse, it doesn't matter wherever that you go, you're going to see a menu that will have appetizers, and then it will have entrees, it will have desserts, it might have other things on there too. So there can be, the reason I broke it down into like menu items is because there might be small things that would be more of like an appetizer. For instance, one of the things that I have at home, and probably some of you have too, are digital frames that just have pictures that just kind of like rotate around, and they're pictures of memories that you might have. That, to me, that's an example of an appetizer. And you might not think of that as being something that would be a loneliness reduction technique, but it is, because when I look at those pictures, I just put myself back into those situations. I am reminded of those events, of those people, and it helps to reduce loneliness. When I think about it, my husband died in this last November, and when I look at pictures of he and I and places that we went, it makes me feel really connected back to him, even though he's no longer with me. Yeah. The same thing happens with other people as well. And so what I think is that all of us know about and maybe utilize some of these techniques ourselves, and we don't think about it. And we don't think about necessarily suggesting that to someone else. Some of you, so this is another item that's on the menu under desserts, and that is robot pets. And I bet a lot of you know about some of these robot pets. To me, that's a dessert item, because if you think about these kind of cuddly little cute little puppies or kitties, it just makes you feel good, like a great chocolate souffle would. So I think that we know about things, and maybe we're not necessarily identifying them. Using Alexa, Google's Alexa, even something like that, could potentially be a loneliness reduction item. These are technology suggestions, but there are other things too. And our idea is to come up with as robust of a list of possible loneliness reduction strategies and techniques as possible. I just think you guys know things, and maybe you're not even aware of it. And we want to come up with some kind of a list that we can share with the community at large, not just us, but with the community.
Yeah. I think that was on your list too, Carol, about writing a card, maybe a senior writing a card to another senior.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Great idea, Pauline.
Relate, yeah.
If I may make a comment, this is Reza from Care Patrol. I actually thank you for all of the great ideas. Thank you, Lauren, for the great presentation. The butterfly that you see behind me is actually part of the campaign that I started with Nicolette Araujo. Some of you know her. We did exactly the same thing. We made these cards and we gave them to assisted living communities, and we have received very well feedbacks. And the idea was to have them write to their loved ones. And we're printing more of these cards, and there's very little marketing on it. It's just a butterfly and just a blank card with a self-stamped envelope. If you search the hashtag above my head, you'll see the whole story. And actually, this ties to another topic that Stephen mentioned. Short videos are extremely helpful. We are working on some of those as part of our work, and I think this is a great thing to just have a simple 1-minute video explaining one topic: what is fiduciary, what is power of attorney, and they will do magic. And the other thing that I want to mention is technology. A lot of things should be solved by better technology to communicate with seniors. For example, what Carol said, Alexa. And in fact, I'm working with a company on that as well, and I've contacted some of you with a survey on a dementia device that they're working to help caregivers and adult children taking care of patients with dementia. And I think we're now entering the virtual life, and I don't know how soon we can get out of it. And if we can have a technology that helps seniors navigate through this with ease, as easy as remote control, which again, some of them, including myself, have trouble using. But I think we need to focus on technology a lot, and Zoom is the first step, and I think everybody agrees. Thank you for your time.
Speak, Don.
Good morning, everyone. This has been great. I really love that this is being brought to the forefront. My experience with my senior clients with reverse mortgages and living trusts, etc., are when there's a compelling need, change happens. When there's more than one compelling need, change is accelerated. So I've seen two things happen. One, they needed to get reverse mortgage and trust and stuff done, and so they embraced the technology. And the other one was they needed to talk to their grandkids. And when there's technology available to help those things happen, especially with their grandkids, they have embraced it, and they're good at it. I think previously they were just unwilling because there wasn't a compelling need. Now there's a compelling need. And across the board, I've heard another wonderful comment. I'm so glad. So I'm on Zoom meetings all over. I belong to all kinds of different fellowships, Christian and spiritual based. I was in 700 people around the world. But I hear across the board, I'm so glad for these Zoom meetings. They've relieved some of my loneliness. So I'm excited about it. There's a place for all this, and I'm really grateful that you guys are doing this, Mark. Thanks.
Anytime.
Carol, thank you.
You see, that's a perfect example. It's yeah. You tell two people, and they'll tell two people, and then they'll tell two. It's in fact, when I look at the screen, it kind of reminds me. Remember at the end of Love Actually? You guys seen that movie? And it starts with two, and then it expands the whole screen. That's what we're talking about. That's how you get around. That's how you unlonely a bit. And
I mean, I have seniors doing Zoom counseling and e-signing documents.
Yeah.
That's unheard of. It's wonderful. Instead of having to sign 100 pages with their crippled hands, they push a button. They love it.
Yeah. Dan's talked about that too, about sharing information on Zoom, so the client doesn't even have to come into the office. So it's yeah. That's it, Kyle. Teach everybody let's have a Zoom class. Let's have a NOCSC sponsored Zoom class. What do you say?
If it fits in the budget.
Come on, there have to be other ideas.
One thing I wanted to follow up, Carol kind of touched on it, the content. So what is it that makes us happy? What is it that evokes a human response? And I always think about music. I think about animals. I've already shared with you my crazy goat story. Things like that, I think, that put a smile on people's face, because it is very, it's more than just a face in a box. There's something else going on. I think I shared this with some of you. I have a relative who is going to be turning 90 years old, and we surprised her recently with a patio performance to keep social distance of her son playing a euphonium. He's a very good player. He's a professional musician, And that just was great. She just was in heaven, listening to that. So, it's just all a matter of creativity and thinking about what makes us all feel happy.
So, I'm going to just jump in here too and say this about, it's an interesting thing about memories, and it's an interesting thing about connectedness, because with both memory and connection, the thing that creates a memory is emotion. There are very, very, very few memories that any one of us have that don't involve some emotion. The reason you have a memory is because there was an emotion that was expressed there, and memories almost also involve some form of connectivity or lack of connectivity. That's what a memory is all about. If you look at memories, that's where it's all about. So interesting, Dan, I'll come back to your story about your crazy goat story. And I don't know if everybody remembers that, but we have a program here at St. Jude called Lunch and Laugh. And we take a very small number of older adults. And when I say small, I mean like a dozen, 10 to 12 older adults. And we have lunch with them at the local, at a local restaurant. And do it once a month, and one of the first things that we do is we laugh. We tell jokes, and we do laughing exercises. So I'm thinking about your crazy goat story. The thing that happens with laughing is that it breaks down those barriers. People feel they're comfortable, feel vulnerable because they laugh, and laughter is clearly an emotion. Again, I'm just coming back to the thing that makes people feel connected is emotion, and that feeling of not needing to be vulnerable, being safe, being vulnerable. You talked about safety, Dan. Well, again, that safety and connection go hand in hand. There are a bunch of different components that help to reduce loneliness, and it's all of those kinds of things. So somebody said something about Alexa. I know I mentioned it, but somebody else mentioned it. Maybe that was you, Don. And Alexa, even Alexa, which we know is just a robot, but that we can feel connected because there is that feeling of a little bit of emotion, and sometimes we laugh at her. So I want you all to think about what kind of things you already know about that we can use to help to reduce loneliness. And if you keep some of those components of connection in mind, I know you guys already have ideas. We just need to put them down so that we can put it out to everybody else. Christine, I can see you smiling. You're thinking of something.
Good morning.
Hi, Christine Chow.
It's so fun just listening into all of you. So yeah, my name's Christine. I am with Independence at Home. We're the community service side of SCAN Health Plan. And like most of you, working from home, so it's been an interesting season. But yeah, it's interesting. I think at Independence at Home, we have different ways to engage with the community. So things I've seen that have been helpful have been like gratitude classes are really popular, like mentioning with Covia. A lot of people are getting signed up for we have a friendly visitor program. Of course, it's all friendly caller right now. I wanted to give a shout out too, and I think the same thing for us. I think the people that we were already engaged with, like figuring out how to engage them is one thing. Because they know us, so they're willing to get engaged. But I think for people who are maybe not connected, I think convincing them, oh, this is a great resource or try this out is a challenge. Like right now, we do have some openings for our Insights program. So cognitive behavioral therapy, interpersonal therapy for caregivers and older adults. It's no cost, multiple languages. Really great. It's all by telephone right now. Yeah, but it's interesting. I think there's some great resources out there. It's just the comfort level. And I think some people maybe are in a place where they're like, I have to try something. I have to do something different. But it's just human nature. I think it's hard to sometimes reach out when you do need something. So, but yeah, I love all the comments here. I think laughter and gratitude and storytelling, they're all those human ways that we connect, and finding new ways to do that in this season.
Yeah.
Still on.
I think that
Who's next?
Facebook it's fitting kind of a weird role in all of this too. Think of it seems like everybody that I know spends all of their spare time just scrolling, maybe they see something from a friend. We've got a doodle dog, so we belong to a Facebook doodle dog group, and so they always post things like your goat story, Dan, and interesting animal sorts of things. And the computer is such a gold mine if you want it to be, I guess, is the bottom line. But it's still back to you can lead a horse to water, but can you get them, will they drink? And how to bridge that gap. Those are the people how to bridge that gap. That's why I'm so curious about where we have something tangible like a digital frame. Oh, let's get a bunch of them. Let's figure out how to get a bunch of them. Then let's get them to somebody. How do we fill those frames? And what do we fill those frames with? It's that bridge. It's the and that's tough. Obviously, well connected's great, but how do you get somebody to try it? It's always great. There's no parking. What did they do? How did it get to where it's kind of on demand and well connected could be that way, or other things could kind of be that way too. So I don't know.
I wanted to say too for that, Covia and Well Connected. I like that St. Jude co-branded somewhat, or that they let you partner that way, because I think it is that trusted contact is what gets people in. It's hard if there's no prior kind of recognition. So I really applaud you for doing that. I think that helps remove a barrier.
Right. I mean, the same could be true there with SCAN. That could, honestly, if you contact them, and Lauren, I don't know if you're still on the line, but they're pretty easy to work with because they want to reach out. They want to connect. These are not difficult people to work with. They're not intimidating human beings.
Yeah, Christine, I'd love to help you connect with them if you'd like.
Okay, awesome. And what's funny? I know that we've funded them before on our community giving side. So yeah, but I would definitely be interested to explore that again, because there's so many things they're offering. So
yes.
Yeah. Lauren, I'll send you my info.
Sounds great.
So what do others of you do to help to promote connectivity? What kinds of things might you suggest? Because I think that we all know about things. So another one of the things that is on the menu is Iris OC. Iris OC is, Mark was talking about Facebook. Well, Iris OC is a kind of Orange County Facebook. It's a social media platform specifically for geared at Orange County older adults, and it's similar to Facebook, and it's also very different. It has many other functions to it, but that is another option, is Iris OC. Just being on a social media platform. There, again, the idea is that there are there are a lot of options out there. We need to locate them, and then we need to promote them. Lauren and I have been talking about Covia for at least a year. And what we know is that we have to keep talking about it because people think that it's a really good idea, but that doesn't mean that, my guess is that none of you are using it, even though we've been talking about it and promoting it for well over a year. And that's just how it is. If you guys aren't using it, we know how difficult it is for us to engage our older adults. And it's not just with Covia. That's just one idea. Honestly, that's just one idea. There are lots of ideas, and we just need to, again, identify them. We want to hear from you all, what you all think. And then we want to encourage you to actually promote and use some of these ideas, including all of them. You've been to lots of restaurants, so you know there isn't just one food that you order every single time. There isn't just one dessert. There isn't just one drink. There isn't just one appetizer. There's lots of options out there, and we just need to identify and make sure that we're using them.
I'd love to promote Covia well connected with some of the boarding care homes that I work with, because like I said, a lot of them don't have activities, but this would be obviously an activity, virtual activity for some of the residents. It doesn't mean all of them are going to participate. It could be one or two, but at least the option is there to have that, so they don't feel like they're sitting in front of the TV all day. Let's offer options. And the homes that I work with that I like to use a lot are the ones that are more engaging with their clients. So I know they would enjoy this. So I would like to get that flyer and really talk to them about it. So that's my take on it.
We'll make sure that you get the flyer, Pauline. We'll definitely
send it.
And I see that Mark Sauceda is back on the line. Kyle, can you unmute Mark? Mark, are you there? Are you really there, Mark? Oh, okay. I'm trying.
The ghost that's Mark Sauceda.
Okay.
Mark advised earlier that he's here. He just doesn't have a mic plugged in.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, I would really be interested to see if there were ways that we could engage not just the Brea Senior Center, but senior centers in general. My guess is, or I'm wondering if senior centers have thought about becoming well-connected, becoming Covia, because they could do the same kinds of things that well-connected is, and they already have people that they're connected with. So I don't know if they are doing this kind of thing with their seniors, but I'm wondering if they are. Or Linda, are you thinking about something?
Oh, I was thinking that Mark Sauceda is with Buena Park Senior Center, right. Not Brea.
I know. Thank you.
But they're both great.
Yes.
And
what am I thinking? Yes, thank you. I know so much better than that. Yeah. Thanks for correcting me.
Oh, I didn't mean to do that, but
good. So I that's one of the things that I thought about is other senior centers becoming like Well Connected, because that's really what initially Well Connected started out in Oakland, like Lauren said, and they started out as senior centers without walls, and that was the thing that kind of grabbed me. I loved that concept, a senior center without walls. How cool. And then it's free and you can access it on your phone. So again, I'm thinking about senior centers just in general.
I wonder if Meals on Wheels, if they would be willing to participate, like since they serve the meals obviously and put a flyer in, I don't know. I mean, some people have adult children involved, some don't. So if the senior themselves may just toss it, but if there's adult children, they probably would read it. Obviously you're not going to get everybody, but I don't know. You have to look at a start, I guess, somewhere.
Right.
It'd be a good organization to reach out to.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hi
remember
there,
how
everyone.
Oh,
I'm here. I've
Oh,
I've
he
been in
got
and
his
out. We've got
microphone.
our. I just called in right now. Sorry about that. So, what are you guys looking to do as far as having us participate, like Covia or was it Well Connected? What's your interest? I kind of caught the back end of it. We've got our food distribution today, so I've been in and out. But go ahead.
So Mark, I was just thinking to myself, you guys could be, just like Covia, because they kind of started out as the concept of a senior center without walls. Well, honestly, you guys already have people. You're really already well connected with your population, with your target population. And I'm wondering if you've thought about offering some of your classes, some of your activities, support groups in the same way that Covia does it.
So currently we actually are. So we've shifted a lot of our programming either online or over the phone. So we have we've shifted bingo to being a Zoom bingo on Monday and Wednesday from 1 to 3. We have a coffee chat actually going on right now from 9:30 to 10:30, where we invite seniors to jump on either the phone or on Zoom to be able to participate with that. The issue we're having is not so much that the population isn't there, is that we live in a technology desert, basically, with our seniors. So I think that's something that everybody's experiencing. I mean, you do have some that are able to do so, but not everybody either has a computer, has a tablet, has a smartphone, has the ability to be able to figure out how to download Zoom. So we're trying to get over these hurdles. We're thinking about doing like a 20-minute in-person presentation of how you download Zoom onto your phone, and then they can participate with everybody else. Doing it obviously socially distant and having it or socially distanced, and then also having it be less than 10 people, have them reserved for that time, having it outdoors, so we can kind of just get this all going, and then they can live a little bit more, with this senior center without walls. And we've adopted the concept of our doors may be closed, but we're here for you, because that's really what it is. We want to make sure that we're still available to all our seniors and everything else that, everybody that's out there. We're looking to make sure that they still get our resources, still get able to, get a phone call. We've done 2 rounds of phone calls, and many other senior centers are doing this too. I'm not discounting anything that anybody else is doing, because I know Brea, Fullerton, La Habra are all in the area are doing these things. We just started mailing out since COVID our newsletter, because we didn't have, and because not everybody is on email. And then we also, so we have virtual, we have everything. If you take a look at our page, oneofpark.com/seniors, it has our newsletter on there, it has our current programming, and we're looking to expand it. We're looking to add more support groups. Right now we just have our clutter support, which meets later today, and then we'll be expanding to other support groups with our social worker to be able to make sure we can, and we're willing to partner with other people so we can provide these. We're mailing this out, we're putting in our website, we're email blasting all this information. We're looking to share this, if somebody wants to do a support group and share with us, Alzheimer's obviously has theirs, or if anybody else has one and wants to partner and is doing on Zoom, we're more than happy to put it in our newsletter so we can kind of go beyond that. The college district, sorry, I know I'm long-winded, sorry, Carol.
Yes, it's great.
We
I want to know how we can promote you. That's honestly, what you're doing is super, but if people don't know about it, then it kind of can fall flat. So
correct.
I want to know how we can promote you, Mark.
And that's what we're trying to figure out. So we've got it up on our marquees. We're putting it out. I know somebody said put it in the food, when they're receiving that. And we've been doing that for weeks, but oftentimes they care more about the food than they do, oh, this is, worthless, just like if we mail it out, not all of them are reading it. And so it's kind of a hit and miss. Some seniors are very skeptical of anything they get in the mail, any kind of phone call they get, because they're so afraid, because they're concerned about being scammed or anything of that nature. But we're doing our best to reach out to them. But Carol, I'll send you an email with our newsletter in there, and so at least you can kind of have that, and we can kind of go from there. We'd love to be able to do that, and I'll share it with my colleagues tomorrow. We have a regional phone call for all senior centers And I'll share that information too, that if we can kind of partner with you guys, you know, especially those that are close to St. Jude, you know, whether it be Anaheim, Fullerton, La Habra, you know, and we'll continue to share that that way.
I think
Will
that's
that work?
super. Yeah, I think that's super, Mark. And Robert, I know that you're still on the phone with California Phones. So I'm thinking about what it's like for you guys, because I see you guys advertise in the morning on the morning news every single morning, and yet people do not know about California Phones. I was talking to somebody earlier, somebody who is intimately connected with technology. That's what they do all day long, is technology with older adults. And when I said something about California Phones, they said to me, "Oh, I need his information because I don't know anything about California Phones." And I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" Because I see you guys every single day. So Mark Sauceda is talking about ways that he can promote some of their programs. And I know we're way over time here, so we need to stop. But Robert, I think about California Phones. You guys do promote, and you've been around a long time, and yet it's still really hard to get people aware and actually utilizing services and programs.
No, it definitely is a challenge, and especially in time of COVID as well. You know, our service centers are still open, and so the people that our clients, we still are servicing them. We do have some limitations where we normally do home visits to install equipment and things of that nature. The state has put a stop on that. So what we are doing in that case is we're just delivering the devices, whether they're pre-programmed and almost like set up to just plug and play type of thing, but there's still that training that needs to happen. So that's been somewhat of the challenge. As far as getting the word out, we are desperately trying. We're trying to partner as much as possible. And sometimes, you know, the commercials don't necessarily give enough information because how can people say, it's like, well, how could it be free? How could it be, you know, once we give the presentation and let them know about the plan, how it works, then they understand why it is free and how it is free. Yeah, this program's been around for 42 years. Yes. And it's never, you know, I mean, everyone pays into this. This is how it gets funded. Everyone gets charged. If you look at your cell phone or your home bill, there's a tiny little charge. I pay a cent every month for this. But it's not just the equipment, it's also the relay service that we provide. And there's two types of relay services that we provide as well. You know, for people that also have speech impediment, there is what we call a revoicing or speech to speech, and then also a typical teletype or TTY type of relay. But that's just a challenge that we always, you know, come up and we try to make ourselves available. I mean, you know, you said it, you know, I've even gone into the Spanish station and gave, you know, we pay quite a bit of money, the state does, for me to do like a 30-second run even on Spanish television just to get the word out. And sometimes it helps and it's not, but based on results at the moment, those commercials that you're seeing, those are our biggest impact. And so, in fact, that's how my father found out about California Phones, and that's how I found out about California Phones. And look at that, I'm working for them now. So yeah, it's been really. I mean, especially at the time of COVID. You know, and kind of going with what you said. When I speak to other organizations, there's some legalities that the cities or, you know, that have imposed as far as how they reach to their participants of their senior centers as well. And you know, Mark could probably speak to this a little bit more than I can, but they're just very careful of how they're communicating and allowing access to them. And sometimes the access is the problem as well. So, I mean, you're kind of talking a lot of stuff that I hear, and, you know, trying to find that, that one thing that's going to make this more impactful. It's been, you know, challenging.
Yeah. Thank you, Robert. Appreciate it. I'm glad that you're on the line today.
Yes, thank you.
We need to be mindful of our time. I know I do.
Yeah. Can I just throw in a couple of quick reminders? Don't forget Senior Care 101, the last Wednesday of the month at 7 o'clock. We're going to try really hard to make sure that there are people joining us by Zoom and phone. But definitely encourage people to register. Carol has the flyer, and it's your number, Carol, to register for Senior Care 101. They get a lot of one-to-one counseling, problem solving, and it's the final Wednesday of every month. And is there anything else you guys wanted to add on announcements, Mark or Carol?
Good.
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody, for great thoughts, great participation. So, to be continued, to be bettered. So,
Thank you for exiting.
bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks,
Bye,
Kyle.
everybody. Nice to see you all.
Bye.
Bye.